Testing. Test, test, test. Okay, good. Wow. I had some issues there. But it's fine. So, yeah, really weird. I was having some issues with OBS. About 17 minutes late going on here, so apologies to anyone who was coming in at the top of the hour. It's it's got a little delay. That's okay. So, what we're doing today, I was flip-flopping around a couple of different things, right? As I often do, I was thinking maybe to do something about Figma, maybe to do something around Express. What I ended up doing is I was writing a chapter for a book I'm contributing to. And the topic in the chapter came to research and scientific investigation and things like that. And it evolved into this whole example of spontaneous generation, right? For those of you who aren't familiar with the concept of spontaneous generation, and also you'll note if you've joined my videos the past few weeks, the audio seemed to be all out of sync with my mouth. And I thought I fixed it last week, but I didn't. It actually wasn't to do with the audio. It was to do with the camera. So I had a setting inside of OBS that I don't know if it was because I updated OBS and it automatically enabled this setting or exactly what happened. But this particular setting was causing a lag in my camera, where I thought it was something else. I thought it had to do with the audio. So, yeah, I nailed that down. Totally unrelated. Well, not totally unrelated. So the tweaks that I was making in investigating that inside of OBS caused some issues, right? When it came to stream this morning. So that's why I'm 20 minutes late. But anyway, back to spontaneous generation, right? So spontaneous generation is a concept that it's a scientific theory, right? And the idea behind it is that non-living matter can give rise to living things, to living organisms. So, a lot of the examples of this, things like, Aristotle thought this, right? This was something that was a scientific fact for thousands of years, right? And it was actually only discredited about 150 years ago, around 1869 or so, 1870, something like that. Before that, everybody thought this was a possibility that, things could just spring into existence from non-living matter. So some examples that are classic around this have to do with, slime giving rise to like certain sea creatures, or, a pile of rags and garbage giving rise to rats, right? Or something like, a dead body. So a corpse giving rise to maggots, right? Thousands of years. It's only, honestly, like the last century or so, a little more than a century, that people have been like, oh yeah, like that's not actually how things work. So the idea behind it, of course, is when you're doing research, you should be open to anything, right? And that's how the scientific method should be too. You should be open to changes, open to saying like, hey, you know what? This stuff that we, have purported to be a truth for however long actually turns out to be a mistake, It's not exactly what we were thinking it was. And this can be applied to so many things. And one of those things is the user experience research process. So that's what I'm writing about. But that leads us here. So I need an illustration to, a figure to illustrate this concept of spontaneous generation as part of the UX process. And that's why we're in Fresco today, so that I can do that. Now, when I opened up Fresco, I noticed that there were some new things. So I open up Fresco every few months for something, right? And I noticed that they have a new thing with oil brushes. So let's open up oil brushes. And this new thing with oil brushes has to do with this setting right here. So they default to good quality. If you've ever used Flash Professional or Adobe Animate, this will look similar, right? So you've got things like in filters, you've got good, better, best kind of deal, or high, medium, low in Animate, right? So we now have a best setting for quality. So before we get into it today, I just want to check this out because I really do enjoy using the oil brushes, any of the live brushes really, inside of here. It's a nice blue color. Let's do red. I like red. Red instead of blue. These are oils. This is an 8K document, by the way. So. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't notice anything crazy different about these brushes. But, there's supposed to be quite a bit of a difference. So I'm gonna just hide that layer. And now we'll talk about what we're talking about, which is spontaneous generation and illustrating for that. So, I want to make this sort of illustrative in terms of a figure, have it be helpful in terms of information. If you look at the Wikipedia article on spontaneous generation, it's got a lot of different things from over the years, like a tree dropping fish out of its leaves, fish generating from a tree, right? Things like that. A little crazy. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do the kind of classic pile of rats, right? So let's go ahead and choose. I'm not going to use live brushes for this. I'm going to use vectors. We're going to have black. I'm going to stick to black for my lines. And size. I want things to be. Tapered. Right? That's pretty good. Okay. I think we're good to go. I am going to, first of all, enable my ruler. So I don't know if anybody remembers, like a few years ago, and by a few, it's maybe like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, Adobe actually started looking into hardware. So they were building their own set of hardware for creative extension, right? And they had a stylus. And this was around the same time that the Generation 1 Apple Pencil came out. It came out a bit later, I think. But Adobe had their own stylus. I can't remember what it was called. It was really fat, though. and it was clumsy, and it wasn't all that great. They also had a ruler. I don't remember what it was called either. It's funny how things just sort of... But this always reminds me of that, because, you know, this ruler could be used with Adobe's Android applications at the time. They didn't really have anything for iOS. Oops, I made a mark there I didn't mean to make. Because they were at war with Apple at the time, right? So they're focused on Android. So what I want to do is create a corner scene. The ruler is great. It allows you to do stuff like this. Right? Just down there. And this is actually the first week of spring semester for me. So for those who don't know, I am an Adobe Education Leader featured streamer. So my full-time job is as a university professor at the University of Colorado Boulder. And this is our first week. However, I have not gotten to teach a class yet because we had a major snowstorm yesterday in Colorado, where I'm located, and classes were all canceled. So I did have remote office hours today, right before this, but no one showed up, which isn't surprising. The first office hours of the year, especially since we haven't had an actual class session yet because of the snow, right? But anyway, that is where I'm coming from. That's why I'm here. And yeah. So one thing I like to do, especially when working with vector brushes, or really any brushes, is I like to make a lot of layers. Because the more layers you have, just like in Photoshop or Illustrator or something like that, the more control you have over everything. All right, so I'm gonna make a pile of rags, and then I'm gonna make a rag. Let's go in here quite a bit. And gosh, when I make a pile of rags, I suppose I'll have to color it as well. Let's go ahead and just kind of make these rags, right? You know, it's funny, with Fresco, you got the live brushes and everything. Sometimes it's very, it's very easy to forget, right? How nice it is. How smooth, right? It is to work with just simple vector brushes. Yes. Okay. So we've got a pile of rags here. I need a pixel layer. Let's switch over to my pixel brushes. Or, I mean, maybe we could use some live brushes. Why not? Just make them white. And, yeah. Just kind of paint in this. This is going to be, again, an illustration for a book, a forthcoming book that I'm co-authoring with an AEL emeritus friend of mine. I won't say who, just because, you know, respect for privacy and all that. I mean, it'll be out there when once we publish, right? Which this book is not coming out for quite a while. Okay. I like roughness to my illustrations, but if it looks unintentional, if it looks like a mistake, then I tend to undo. So yeah, how's everybody doing today? I see there's a number of people here. I am receptive to chat. I got my eye on the chat. So, if you want to say hello, please do so in the chat. A couple of things to note. So up above me are my 2 latest books. So I've got my Adobe Creative Cloud Classroom in a Book through Adobe Press, which came out November, I believe. Then below that is Mastering Adobe Animate 2023. It's the 3rd edition of my Animate book. And that's coming out early February. So that's coming out pretty soon. And it's the biggest revision I've done on that book. It's got extra chapters. Almost every chapter has like an additional exercise in it. It's got a lot of great stuff. Anyhow, check those out if you like. I'm going back here. Let's add another layer. Let's start thinking about that rat, right? So choose my vector brush once again. Change the color back to black. There we go. Do. So rats, right? Just trying to think of what I want these rats to look like. Maybe I'll have a couple of rats coming out from each piece here, so something like. I'm thinking kind of like a stylized rat, right? So I'm trying to think of what rats. They've got a big bottom, right? And it sort of tapers toward their nose, right? There we go. That's an ugly rat. So he's coming out from there. I'll make a couple other rats. Hey, do you mind? Big fat rats. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to hear what everybody's up to with your own work. What kind of are you all familiar with the concept of spontaneous generation, which is what we're talking about today? Curious to know. It's funny because a lot of people don't seem to really know about this. This scientific theory. I mean, I was taught it in school. But maybe that dates me in some way, right? Yeah, so there they are. Scurrying out. Let's extend. Oh, look at the rulers. Perfect. Thank you, ruler. Yeah, so the... Gosh, I wish I could remember what it was called. Let me look it up. Adobe ruler. There's a pen and a ruler. The code name was Napoleon for it. So, the thing with Adobe that's really annoying. All right, the pen was called Mighty, and the ruler was called Napoleon. Yeah. It was 2013. Mighty and Napoleon. Yes. Okay. Well, there's our answer for that, right? Let me find my... There we go. So, Mighty and Napoleon. Yeah, there was... I've got a copy. I've got a set of these. Piece of hardware. Not down here in my studio, but I do have them somewhere. They might be packaged away since I am doing some... I am going to do some remodeling. A lot of very extensive remodeling in my home. Let's add some color to these. Let's make the mice kind of like a blue color. Well, no. Let's make them yellow. Because mice, rats... Not mice, they're rats. Ugh. Right? Ugh. Disgusting. I mean, mice are gross too. They're all kind of gross. Oops, I was using live brushes, wasn't I? Okay. Here we go. Let's focus on this little rat. Hello, Akita. How are you? If I pronounced your name correctly. There we go. Oh, look at that. Oh, what a good rat. So I am... Oh no. I'm filling in my rats that are being spontaneously generated. Oops, just hit my mic. Spontaneously generated from this pile of rags and refuse and just disgusting stuff here, right? So yeah. But I was saying it is the first week of classes for me. And being disrupted by a snowstorm, right? Is interesting. Hasn't happened before. For me. But it's kind of set things off in a strange way to be in the class, right? Because you know, you've got it's just weird. It's just an odd thing. All right, let's color this refuse in a bit. I'm gonna take the flow down quite a bit here. Let's get some green, some disgusting kind of green gray, and just gonna add in these highlights here and there. Not really highlights, I guess. More like disgusting marks. Yeah. Our pile of rags. So yes, this is my illustration for spontaneous generation. And it should get published. I don't see why it wouldn't, really. We'll see. Joseph, why the hell are you talking about scientific method and theories and things like that when we're supposed to be talking about UX? Well, I think it's relevant. I take a holistic, right, view to things where, you know, everything kind of like touches upon and influences everything else, you know, different parts of society, different aspects of people's day-to-day lives and how they think about things, right? You cannot discount that. And I think a lot of people do discount that, right? People are just like, here I'm just adding a little bit of disgusting brown color to, oops, to these rags, right? We're just kind of building up all these different points of stuff here. So yeah, anybody who has just come in, like spontaneous generation, you know about it as a scientific theory. As a scientific theory held for thousands of years to be true. The truth.
We are separated.
Oh, look at that. So, you know, I mean,
Ghosts. Still life.
come on. Need a little bit greater flow here. Just to give them a little more dimensionality. These rats, right? Cool thing, of course, about live brushes is that it's an easy thing to blend your colors and everything. Fresco is neat. It's very different from some other apps because it lets you combine, right? You get to combine vectors and pixels and live brushes all together, right? Whoa. Hey, it's a little too much flow there. I always enjoy, you know, illustrating figures for books that I'm involved in. Whether it's some kind of a screen capture-based approach, which honestly, and most boring, most books, that's as far as I take it, right? Just kind of get, here's a screen capture. This is what the screen should look like when you're doing this task. It's like, okay, that's fine, but can we make that more interesting, you know? More illustrative. And I think especially with something like this, you definitely can, right? Definitely. Gray in there. And yeah, I'm gonna put this in the book. And hopefully it makes the point. So one thing too, I'll have to sort of, right, retain this style. It's just a good style. It's I got a little bit of something right there. There we go. There we go. Get rid of it. So I'm trying to think, is something missing here? Should I put stink lines coming off of the refuse? Should I put like little like motion lines to demonstrate that the rats are coming out of this? They've been spontaneously generated, right? Let's put some stink lines in there. Yeah. We're gonna do vectors once again. that's too much. Take it down a bit. Hmm. There we go. That's pretty gross. Let's dial it down a bit. The opacity. There we go. Just disgusting. It's garbage, right? It's disgusting garbage. So I gotta look at a preview over here of my screen, and it doesn't look like it's really coming across. There we go. Interesting. Okay. That is nuts. I wonder if my screen is just goofed here. I've got a nice screen. I've got a nice display attached to my streaming machine here, so I don't know why. Yeah, it's just blowing out the colors there. Now you can see it, yeah. Very weird. Let's crop this. Crop it down. It's my crappy. Wait, I know I know I can change the size of my stuff here. Why can I not find it? Here? No. I swear there's a resize option inside of here. Let's show keyboard. Spontaneous. Oh, I can't have a space. That's stupid. Generation. Yeah, thank you. Spontaneous generation. Boom. Save it. Okay. So, gosh, I can't remember how to do this, which is funny, because I know I've done it before. I could always do it in Photoshop or something. But I do want to produce, right? I want to produce a... Here it is. Well, that's not going to be helpful, is it? That's pretty good. So I'm just transforming my layers here. Which is like, okay, we can do that too. There we go. That'll look better now. Okay, let's go ahead and share this to Behance because I'm finished. We are going to
6 threads
publish and export
drawn together.
as a Behance project, right?
6 threads drawn apart. 6
right, there we go. It should be published live on Behance. Close that out. Done. And yeah, I'll be able to use these lovely rats emerging spontaneously from the pile of the disgusting whatever this is to illustrate scientific concepts. Okay, cool. Perfect. Let's move my pad over here. Mount pencil. Make sure it's charging this time. So I picked it up this morning when I was getting ready for this stream, and it was just not working. It was at 0% charge, which, yeah, you're not gonna do too much with 0% charge, right? Cool. Hey, stop it, Joseph. I am happy with this. This is exactly how I expected it to look. Perfect. Okay, cool. I don't know what I'm doing next week, but thank you to everyone who showed up, especially to Okita, who has, you know, chatted in the chat. Do appreciate it. Yeah, if you're interested, you know, read Adobe Creative Cloud Classroom in a book, and give me a 5-star review on Amazon, please. Somebody gave me a 5-star yesterday, which was very welcome. So, you know, huge thanks to whoever did that. I do appreciate it. Okay, cool. Well, I am going to get on with my day and leave you all to get along with yours. So thank you very much, and see you later.